Today, we're doing something a little bit different. I'm gonna show you the top 7 musky baits that actually catch you big fish. Number 7, the swick. I use this bad boy when pretty much all the other lures that I've tried during the day does not work, but that's probably not too much of a good idea because they're actually a good lure. This is the unweighted version, made out of wood. I pretty much hate it because you can't cast it in the wind. I had some heavier ones with lead in them that are awesome for banging off rocks and stuff. These are good to work over top of weeds in shallow water. But like I said, they can't cast worse shit. So if you're casting into the wind, good luck. And I pretty much just talk shit about this lure the entire time. But they're good, they catch big fish. I've caught a lot of fish on them, but just the weighted version. They're a good presentation when you want to slow things down. They're not really meant for speed fishing an area. Like if you're working down a shoreline and you're behind somebody with a bucktail, you're gonna be floating your line behind the boat the most of the time because like you can work it in pretty quick, but not as fast as something that's just in line like a bucktail or a swim bait or something like that. But like when you're looking to slow down a presentation, like this is a good option and they catch really big fish. Great lure, but get the weighted version. Number 6, the baby beaver. This is my number 1 go-to throwback bait. You get a follow of a fish that just darts away or comes in real slow, goes down, and you're like, God damn, what do I do? You throw back a beaver and she'll crunch it, maybe. I like the beaver to throw back because it looks super realistic in the water. It's got a crazy action. You can work it so many different ways. It's insane. There's not too much to say about it. It's a good throwback lure. You can even rip these in all day if you want to, if you wanted an alternative to a bucktail or something, easier to throw. Swims through the water really good. They come with these little weights you can get for the head if you want it to run deeper. I always run it because it helps me cast further in the wind. I hate the wind. Casting in the wind sucks.
Holy shite.
Number five, crankbaits. This is a shallow raider. I love shallow raiders. A lot of people hate JBO outdoors because the paint doesn't stay on, but they still catch me fish. So the way I like to work these, you can straight crank them in if you want when you're casting. You can troll them. Obviously, a lot of people troll crankbaits. They're meant for trolling. But I like casting them, not into the wind. They're pancakes, man. If you cast these things in the wind, they just come straight back at you. But I like to do a lot of ripping and pausing and jerking at the beginning of my cast when this thing first hits the water. And then I like to straight retrieve it in and then pause it somewhere in between there and then do your figure 8 at the boat. Like these are awesome to throw all day. You can work them super quick. Like if you need an alternative, something that comes in straight, this is a good lure to switch up to during the day. When I work this thing over top of weeds, you just give it slow, either cranks on your reel or long sweeps. And it's got a great side-to-side action too when you're working it, and then you just let it float up out of the weeds once you hit it. Rocks, I just bury it into them. Bury this lip right into the rock, and you're good to go. You'll catch a giant. Number 4, the bulldog. I kind of don't like these lures, but I keep hooking big fish on them, and then I lose them. And don't say, sharpen your hooks, man. If you touch these things, you will get penetrated. So the 2 versions of the bulldogs I use are the weighted and the unweighted. I only throw mags, but the shallow version works awesome, and obviously shallow water over top of weeds in rock shoals and stuff. The weighted version goes a little bit deeper. How I like to work them: pull pause or straight retrieve. I straight retrieve these things a lot of the time and I get smoked. So you don't always have to imply a jerking action because these tails are insane. They got so much movement in the water, and if you keep throwing these, you will hook up with a giant. At some point, everybody should try throwing a bulldog because they do catch big fish. I'm just kind of unlucky with them, but you know, but lucky at the same time because I hook the big fish and then they get off.
Off. No. See the size of that?
Number 3, shadzilla. I absolutely love these lures. If you watch my videos, it's pretty much always on somebody's rod in my boat. Like, they're just awesome. The only downfall to these things is if you catch a little dinker on it, it's gonna pull this right through. And that just makes you wanna cry because you spend 20 bucks on this thing, 30 bucks on the bigger ones, and then they pull through.
You know when your shadzillas are good bait to use, eh? You gotta repair them.
Somewhat easy to fix. If you got a torch, you can kind of patch it up and, well, you stick her back in, patch her up, or if you can heat up a butter knife and you can weld the silicone back together. But if it's completely demolished, like this guy, like completely just disintegrated, you can still throw this, just tie wrap the wire back in there. It'll kind of swim all stupid, but still catches me. Another quick tip for the shadzilla, I like to change the hooks to a little bit of a longer shank in the middle here with a smaller diameter on the hook. A lot of people will say, like, you got shitty hookups with them and all that stuff. Just change your hooks and then that fixes it. You can throw the shadzillas anywhere, over top of weeds, over top of shoals. Like, you can troll these things. Like, these baits are just unreal. I love them so much. They catch me a lot of fish. Number 2, glide baits. Specifically, the glide raider. If nobody has ever used this bait, or if you have used it and you don't like it, I suggest you pick it back up again. I love this lure because I caught a high 50-inch fish on it, and ever since then, this lure does not get put down. I'm always using it. Also got my personal best pike on this thing, and my personal best walleye, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, baby. Look at the size of that northern pike, man. That is a monster fish.
So the way I like to use them, if conditions are bad and you need to fish fast and efficiently, I use my high-speed reel and I rip this mother in as fast as she can go. If it's on surface of the water and she's flopping out 3 feet out of the water, that's how it goes. You just pause it then. I've had so many fish come up and crush this lure after I flung it out of the water, you don't even know. I've had muskies, before we started filming, just annihilate this thing in the air. When conditions are good and you can really slow down and dissect a spot, I use my low speed reel and I work this thing in pretty slow with a lot of pauses, and then you speed it up, you do whatever you think you want to do with it. Like, this is an unreal lure. It's really an underrated glide bait. It's by far my favorite glide bait I have ever used. I've used a lot of glide baits too. Number 1, bucktails. Preferably double 10s or bigger. I like big ones. Caught the biggest, the heaviest, the longest fish of my life on a bucktail. You can catch a lot of muskies just throwing bucktails. You don't even have to have any other lure, in my opinion, if you want. This is how I started out. I just bought one bucktail, started cranking her in, boom, caught like 7 fish on it. So lots of different variations. You can get the tinsel, flashabou, marabou, regular bucktail. I prefer the flashabou. I don't know, I just like the extra flash. I used to be hung up on marabou a lot, but I switched over to tinsel, never looked back. The reason why bucktails are so good is because there is just so many variations and options you can do. You can have different blade colors, you can have one a different color, you can have different bead colors, you can have different tinsel colors. Like you can have different hook variations. Like it's just insane what you can do with these things. So pretty straightforward. You just reel these things in as fast as you want, as slow as you want. You can do whatever you want with them. You can jerk them if you want. Like they catch fish, they catch big fish. Like I said, caught the biggest fish of my life on them. Not too much to say. The way I like to fish a bucktail is, as soon as this thing hits the water, I like to crank it right away so the blades flare up, tinsel shoots out. As soon as it hits the water, crank it all the way in. I like to slow it down or change directions every once in a while during the retrieve, because if you got a fish following in and it's just coming straight in and they don't smoke it, you're gonna have to play it at the boat. But I like to have the fish just eat, because you don't know what's following out on a 90-foot cast. There's a reason why everybody runs them. They catch big fish, they catch numbers of fish. So I'm sure you already run these things. Just keep doing it. It's only a matter of time. Put your time in, you'll get a giant. So that's just my personal opinion. I want to know what your top musky bait is. Leave it in the comments below. What do I do, Bender? Hope you enjoyed. What's your favorite musky lure? Your favorite one, not your top 7. Leave it in the comments.